Okay, you're on.
All right. Good morning. It's Monday, December 17th. Continuation of Dublin Road Board of Selectmen's meeting following a non-public session. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, first item, seeing as we don't have any public input, is review and approval of the minutes from December 10th.
I had one item on page 1,
All right.
next to the last line. It starts earlier in the year and it ends with the two large doors in the, should be overhead doors. Right,
Oh,
right here.
overhead doors.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Other than that, I'm all set.
All right, same paragraph. I don't know if it's the same line, probably not. It's the third line up. The new system that he and his crew have used to handle construction debris has should be proven to be an improvement. Proven to be an improvement in covering debris costs, but the budget will still be over, comma, not to go all Max will do on you. And then on the next page, first line, separately there is water leakage onto the electrical system, not through the electrical system.
Okay.
Okay? I'll make a motion that we approve them as
Second.
corrected.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. I thought I saw Chief Schuler.
Yeah, he said he'll be right back. He must have forgot something.
Okay. All right, let's go to signature file. Notice of intent to cut for 44-2-20.
I'll make a motion that we sign.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Just a motion isn't gonna be enough, and I have to actually sign.
Yeah, really. Okay, and the other thing is, this one we're gonna. Wait until Andy's here. And then we have to revisit the reassessment contract, right? Because it had to go to DRA before we signed it.
Yeah.
So is it different than when we signed it before?
They just wanted a little bit of language added, and it's that section that Rod changed.
3.4.2.
Something, yeah, something like that.
I found it confusing.
Their letter with their recommendation is at the very back.
Yeah, okay.
They wanted some language added about what to do, I think, for interior inspections, I believe. Or if you can't get in for interior inspection, something like that.
You need permission.
Excuse me.
Yeah. All right, 3.4.2 says that municipalities provide all property transfers for a minimum of 2 years immediately preceding the effective date of the revaluation. Outlined in data collection manual, blah, blah, blah. You want to look at this before we go? It's all Greek to me.
Sure.
And furthermore, I guess what I'd say is, if it has to be in there for DRA to accept it, it's sort of moot whether,
And we have to sign it.
then, yeah. Then we got two choices. We can say we're not gonna sign, we're not gonna do it, and then we're in trouble, or we can sign it the way it is. So.
Well, I'll make a motion, we sign it, and we'll read it, maybe I
All right,
can walk us through it.
yep. All right, it's been moved. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Does it need all of us?
Yes, looks like it does. So get your pen warmed up.
It's ready. It's vibrating.
A vibrating pen, wow.
It's the sugar.
It's for sure. Kicking in.
Okay. Next, we have we need to reappoint Jack Parsons as our health officer. Or we need to appoint a health officer because Jack's term is expiring.
And he's willing to do it.
And he's willing to continue.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Does a good job.
Yes, he does. Oh, guess I screwed that up. Supposed to print your name and then sign it. Oh well.
That's Marcus and
Yeah.
Right.
It's Gothic, right?
If they reject it based on that, we'll know they're bureaucrats.
One, two, actually.
Then we have a letter that the LRPC has put together for support by select boards with respect to cell phone coverage. They're asking that we sign on to it. I read it over and
I read it as well.
yep.
I'll make a motion, we sign on.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Just one signature.
Yes.
Aye.
Speaking of letters, Karen, did we send a letter off to Bill Williams?
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, he wanted to
I
revise it.
wanted to flesh it out a little more than just that thing. So,
Excuse me.
or actually, I'm still not working on it, but it's still in my, it's in my queue. So,
Have him come in. We can give it to him personally.
huh?
Would that be nice?
Yeah, that would. All right. And this is the same, this doesn't require a signature, this is just the backup for the.
Right.
for that. All right.
Yeah, there's some
So
additional
the
info
only
that
thing
came.
holding on this is the contract with the architect, and I would like to wait and we'll do it while Andy's here. And he's gonna be in to talk about this shortly anyway.
There's some, yeah, some correspondence if
Right.
you want, yeah.
So move on to correspondence. Well, we can do selectmen's update. Let's do selectmen's update. Mr. Wood.
It's my understanding that Scott Thompson and Jack and Clay have met about the generators up there and have come up with a reasonable solution. He also was talking about waterproofing the leak and following up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And with your permission, I'd like someone to come up with a system of putting a light on so that when the power goes out or the three-phase goes out, you know, a cruiser drives by or someone goes by, they know it. Right now, there's some blinking lights in a box someplace, but
Yep. Well,
You need to make it simple, as long as it's not expensive.
I know that we have a system at the townhouse that notifies when the power's out. And I'm guessing that we could probably do a similar thing at the transfer station. It's, I think what it does is it's got a dial on it. So when the power goes out, it calls Jack. But I think that's an outstanding idea. Put something on the power system up at the transfer station. Have it call, play.
Yeah.
The only reason why I think that might not work there is because that's a cable phone setup. And you know, when cable goes out, you lose your phone, unlike the townhouse, which is Fairpoint or whatever. So I
Okay.
don't know if that would work there.
All right.
That's why I asked
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
investigate it. You know,
Yep.
I'm thinking the company that works on the equipment and the people that supply the three-phase power,
Yeah.
this can't be the first time
Yeah.
Well-
this issue's ever come up. The other thing is,
There's no generator up there, correct?
There isn't. That's right.
So once the generator's there, it becomes,
well, the generator only runs the two-phase items.
Single phase, yeah.
right,
Not the
that's what you get
three-phase.
anyway.
But you need it for the floor, you also need it for the heating capability. And, you know, for example, in case of emergency, if power goes out, you gotta open and close the doors, so. Do that. The other thing is, where does this money come from? 'Cause
Well-
we have about 22,000 left in buildings, but
We have some money left that doesn't look like we're gonna spend, but, so we can,
negotiate.
we can allocate it,
Sure.
but we gotta, it has to be a real thing. We can't just say, well, we know we're gonna spend the money.
Right.
So, that's.
I represented that to both of them, it needs to be, you know, on paper and a
Yep.
contractual relationship, so.
Yep, all right.
You're up.
Okay, chief, welcome back.
See, everybody's getting
You know what, I
older.
think the arrests, that should be 14, not 12, but anyway, not a big difference, just adding the two. I think I forgot to add those in. For 2018.
So, that number's wrong?
I think it's 14, because I think that was 12 from last month, and obviously we had 2 arrests in November, so.
So the protected custody was that,
I don't usually put their names in because there's no criminal status
no,
to it.
so there was no criminal event, it was just protected custody.
There was no charges brought, it was
Okay.
a domestic dispute that no charges were brought. Possible that charges could have been brought, but it wasn't.
And we're all getting older, I see the accidents have gone up.
Accidents have gone up slightly, yes.
Our reaction time's slower. Accidents bad.
We vary sometimes. I think my first year here we were 52 accidents, so
Yeah.
we're in the 30 to 50 range is typical for us.
On accidents,
Yeah.
is it appropriate for a selectman in public to ask you about a particular accident, or is that confidential?
Ken, we'll see what I can say. Depends on the accident, maybe.
Was the town truck involved in an accident?
My understanding, town truck was involved in an accident, yes.
And was the report filed?
There was a report filed, yes. That would be a public record. It's a
Okay.
town-owned vehicle.
And did the operator have the necessary license
I believe so. I'd have to look at the report to verify.
and the other things that he needs to go along with? If that's not a proper question, I won't answer.
Any personal injury?
No, it was,
Property damage?
Knock the
Property
mirror
damage.
off.
knocked the mirror off a car.
My understanding is that he wasn't even aware of it at the time, he backed around the corner or something, and the owner of the car came down here and filed a report with the police, so we paid the repair.
Yeah.
And the other question is, we have a tax sale property in town?
Tax sale property.
Right over
We have
here?
tax deed,
Yes.
tax deed.
Tax deed property.
Yes.
Yes.
And have there been issues with that, with trespass there?
I'm not sure the legal status of the,
Ownership?
because there's no eviction has been
Right.
served at this
Okay.
point,
Right.
so it's not a trespass.
I have
Someday
no-
soon.
Okay.
Someday soon there may be a trespass issue, but as of right now, as far as I know, there's been no further process. It's
That's
still a
right.
process going.
I know when I was in court, there was a 10-day
Yes.
opportunity.
But then, and I believe that's lapsed, but now the next step is
Right.
The order has to get signed and
served,
served, right?
so.
Well, I'm sure you and I are on the same wavelength. I'm just concerned about people's safety.
Yeah, well,
And my motives are honorable. I know yours
we'll,
always actually.
we'll
Okay?
see what happens with that.
And I was in court the 28th, and did the guy not appear?
It was 28th?
Yep. Where do you say court?
He appeared,
Okay.
he appeared.
Good. Was there a
What-
outcome?
Pled not guilty, so we'll be going to court
Okay.
further out. And one of the things, the call-outs are a little lower than they kind of sort of were, if they would have been. But I worked, like, for example, the arrest on the 23rd, and on the 18th, I was working extra to try and get later that night to try and get some stuff done, and then I get, instead of being called out like would have happened if I had gone in when I was supposed to go in.
So it's a semi-call-out.
So it's a semi-call-out. So the call-outs, I mean, if I actually just worked my 8 hours and gone home, there would have been more
I
call-outs.
see.
That's my point. I've been working some extras to try and catch up with some stuff. So, anyway.
Okay.
And then, coming up, we've got, there was a Thanksgiving holiday dinner, that, at the school, turned out, because of the storm, that got canceled. There will be one this Thursday, hoping somebody can make it to that. And Friday morning at the school, I've got a fun thing to do. You know, we're gonna have like stations in the school for events Friday.
So Thursday would like to see a selectman?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
No, we're just,
When you said someone be there,
someone be there,
police?
police department,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thursday. Friday, I have a station to do, the fire department's got a station Friday. To do some, they get some learning games with the kids going on. So that's that, and I've been busy working, we've been finishing out this month our training hours for the year, getting some of that done, getting, we've been updating some of the policies, and we also have had to do some of our firearms training for the year, get that accomplished, get that done by the end of the year, so. You know, we are a little late, but when Jamie and I were here, we were busy, now, and Tom wasn't gonna be able to get it done, so we kinda got it. Yes, it's snowy and cold, but nobody can say that we don't train under realistic conditions either.
And your firearms requalification, is that calendar year or?
Calendar year.
Okay.
Goes, we have to do it by the end of the year, so.
And you also have to do it 4 hours of
4 hours of use of force, which is kind of, it can't be, huh?
Is it a classroom?
It's classroom, it can be other things too. It goes over the policies, procedures, we can, you know, it's kind of flexible as long as we cover those. There's certain things you have to cover every so often, pursuit policy, use of force, RSA 6.75, which is use of force in law enforcement. And then you got other time you can add other stuff in. We're gonna do our baton training, that sort of stuff to fill in the rest of the hours. And we'll have, we have a computer program where I test the people online, so I have tests that show that they've done these things, and it keeps a record for me. Plus, it has the policies, and it's web-based. So like if you're out, so the policies are in there, and you can test on the policy. You also have to review the policy, and I get signed electronically. They sign off, but it's also available if ever something comes. If they're out in the street and they have a question, they can look up the policy. Those that are in there, I still have more to get in, but so it's a way of tracking both that they're doing it and having it at their fingers when they need it, as long as they have cell phone coverage. But,
I'd like to change the subject.
Yep.
And something I'd like to offer. Do you think you'll have any money left in your budget?
yes,
Would it be appropriate if I offered to work with you to take the older cruiser first, and if there's any rust or anything that needs to be touched up, like Adam did to Car 1, take it to a local vendor? And the other thing is, would it be appropriate for me to get information on the rust-proofing oiling done by the same company that did Jack's vehicle?
we can check on it, sure. If
If it means me following someone and giving them a lift or something like that, I'd be willing to step up to the plate here, so.
we've got a few things that we have to get done by the end of the year, so
Well, if this is
Is there
what,
a cruiser coming up this next year?
yes. That's on the warrant.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well,
Sure.
in theory,
You're
It's-
down an
it's-
officer.
huh?
I'm looking for some money, so we're gonna have to have a chat about that, I think.
Okay.
How desperately you need it. Anyway, I didn't want to blindside you. Although
Well,
I think I did just blindside you.
We're looking at a large expenditure for library edition this year.
Yeah.
And because the library has been very successful in their private fundraising, the amount that needs to be made up is a few $100,000, which really doesn't make sense to try and go out and borrow for a period of time. So if we're gonna do that, and we're not gonna hit the tax rate big time, we have to look at some other expenditures that are on the schedule for this year with an eye toward pushing them out of here to sort of level stuff out a little bit. So that's, I think, where you're coming from with respect to the question of the cruiser. Given that we have had some cruisers that have gotten less time on them this year because they haven't been used. So think about the possibility
Yeah,
of.
it's not a done deal, but I think you understand our position of
Yep.
wanting to flatten out any expenses and also get this library thing done and over with. And, well,
that's one of the things I was thinking about, maximizing any minor repairs. So it's all part of the strategy.
we'll
So-
put them on horseback. How about that?
That would increase our expense
Probably increase our-
substantially.
When I was at UNH, Dale Haley donated a horse that we used,
How about Segway?
and it worked.
Segway.
Yeah. How about that on a winter day when it's snowing, right? Riding around on the Segway? Anyway, that's just something that we're gonna be looking at everything that goes on the warrant. Because nothing that we're not gonna put anything on there except the big expenditure, but I think we have to evaluate from the impact of pushing some things out that we would, in a normal year, do this year, so that we're not kicking everybody with a big tax increase. With the amount of money we're looking for this library, it does not make sense to borrow that.
Well, I also I spoke when the library was in here for them, to have them look at their construction budget. And, I mean, if there's $1 million bond for performance bond, things like that might cost $100,000. Should we look at that and self-insure. Should we look at furnishing and fixtures, which won't happen until 20, because the building's gonna take all year. And bifurcate the budget a little bit. So it's not, we're not only looking at your purchases, but also everybody else's.
Right, this isn't just, oh, well, here's a cruiser and we'll kick it down the road.
And this is, this is the plan to expand where they're at,
Yes. Yeah,
basically what they had last
year, that's right.
2017.
It's $1.9 million, and they're up to $1.6 million that they've raised. $1.9 million is change, so it's about
300,000 is about 30 cents on a tax rate,
Yeah,
which makes no sense to bond, because you're gonna pay another on top of it, and,
Oh, yeah, and if you
Interest.
borrow it, I don't think you can bond at 300, well, you might be able to.
yeah.
well, whatever, even if you
Well,
took out a note
If
for
you
it,
take out a note, it's still gonna add to the expense.
and you'll be paying for it
Right.
umpteen years.
You pay the interest expense over however
And
many
we've
years.
bought, and we've bought pieces before of land where we've come up with that, the piece the fire station's on, we
Right.
can,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
1 year,
Yep,
so.
so, anyway,
Do you have anything on the new station? Police station?
well, that's the
We're
next,
signing-
that's the next
You
item
guys are
on
supposed to
the,
do
yeah,
the,
yep. We have the
Did all your
Modified.
questions get answered?
I believe so,
letter of agreement here,
Okay.
and
I believe.
I've read the
Because
back
Rick
end.
went through it too.
Yep. And he had some, and this includes the revised language for the town attorney?
Yeah.
Does it, with respect to access to,
The very last paragraph.
to the materials?
And they were okay with that?
Yeah.
Well,
You
it
don't have a
doesn't,
choice.
it has to be in there,
Yeah.
so,
That was my first thing when I read it, I said, this sounds like a private kind of
Yeah.
a contract,
Yeah.
not necessarily
all right.
one that could go to a public entity.
And so, what we're looking to do is,
And that was the only other question that I think Rick answered it, was the letter of agreement versus
Right.
the AII
Contract.
contract.
all right? So, have you guys all looked this
Yeah, I
over?
have.
I'm comfortable with it.
I'll make a motion that we sign it, provided, I mean, the chief has told us that his questions were answered, so.
Yep.
I'm gonna make a motion that we sign.
I'll second it.
All right.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yep,
Or ask some
any
questions.
further,
I've gone over the lengthy work that we did with the last committee, and we got a contractor and a engineer to come up with things that were listed, and we're talking, that was to remodel the whole facility, right? The old library.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, it was that plan could be used on a new piece of property. Is that your recollection?
Or something along that lines, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything defective with this, or anything that's changed your mind other than minor things?
Yeah, I don't know that when they talked about doing it, say at,
We pass this out?
I'm not sure, I think that was to fit the library, because I think, I mean, there may be,
Pass it down to Karen.
I think, my only thought on that, and I know where you're saying this, is there was a possibility of making this rectangular, I think, if it was at the property of the fire station, it might have been. But I think when they did the pricing on the other properties, it wasn't necessarily this L shape, it was basically the same number of square footage is how they did it.
I have those prices
That's,
okay,
to pass out, pass on to Karen.
so I don't know that it would look exactly like this, it was more on a programmatic,
You know, my,
square footage is how they priced it out.
right,
Than how for the other
Yeah.
options.
I'm not sure where we're going here.
Yeah, what's your,
But where I'm headed is, there's been already a lot of preliminary work done. And in this report, you worked very hard, as did the committee, of breaking down every single doorknob and why it's there. And, you know, for example, evidence versus lost property versus DWI evidence versus blood. And that report is really well done. My question is, do we really need this company here going all over town looking for spots to put a
well,
light?
this spot isn't available anymore.
No, the point is that you take this plan and it could go on any piece of property we have.
So.
It's just a thought.
And what we're doing is we're hiring somebody to, we're hiring somebody to come up with a design approach that's appropriate to the needs of the town, meets current standards, and look at citing it. And I think we've talked about a couple of different places as opposed, and the third would be
Dearborn.
Dearborn, near the same property as the fire station, and then an expansion here. And I'm not sure that we're well served by giving the folks what we did before and say, here, start here and go forward.
No, but, I mean,
We're looking for somebody who is doing this stuff to come forward with a current design recommendation based upon a needs analysis and a review of requirements. I
we're
think
gonna
this
provide them with everything we have.
we are.
So they'll know that we have this and they have that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so at least we
You already
know
gave them that.
kind of what kind of money we're talking.
Right.
And, yeah, I'd rather let them design it. I'm not gonna, I wouldn't vote to build this. I really wouldn't. So, unless I'm forced to.
You know,
But,
and this was, it was a good effort and comprehensive, done 4 years ago, looking primarily at an option that isn't going to be part of the mix going forward. So it's instructive, but it shouldn't be, I'd hate to see us use it to direct our thinking in terms of where we're gonna end up.
yeah, I think, let them be architects and the chief can be a police officer and we can be selectmen. We can all do the job that we're trained to do.
This report, when it talks about everything from the telephone system to flooring to security system, it's pretty comprehensive. Yeah, but they're gonna get it, so.
Right, and there's a lot more stuff that they know about that we don't. I mean, hopefully they're in 2018 mode for architectural input.
Yep,
My question was answered.
okay, all right,
Do we have a motion and a second?
yep. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I guess it looks, this is a one signature document, is that right? Looks like,
Could be.
yeah,
I think so, and then some initials.
yep, all right.
Merry Christmas, Chief, to you and your family.
I just need them to encumber funds to
Are we
do
not
this,
seeing
if
them?
you want to listen to that, but I'm gonna have them.
What's that?
Oh, that's right, the 28th.
What?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I might not see
Ho,
you
ho,
again.
ho.
I might not see you again until then. Unless you want
Care about
to,
that, it's just the money.
we're going to be meeting again on the 28th.
We are.
And if you have any more
I
information,
will come in.
bring that up.
Yep.
All right,
That'd be good.
I have a feeling he'll be around.
now,
Well, settling that part of it out would be nice.
Yeah.
so they're looking for
$2,000.
$2,000 retainer,
Yep.
which we can get going now, and we need to encumber $17,500 from this year's article to pay for this work when it's done.
It was 19.5.
So wasn't there a possibility of extra fees too? In the contract?
Well, how much do we have in that article? Do you know?
We've got more than that.
We had like 30,000, I thought, right?
So do we want to encumber 20?
There was a thing about if they had to make extra copies and professional fees on top of,
Right.
not some other fees on top of it.
I don't think we can encumber the full 30. I'm comfortable going,
I thought that,
maybe 22, but
I thought the warrant article was
Let's
non-lapsing.
just encumber the 19.5.
Well, that was the next
Send them
question,
the
was it a non?
$2,000 retainer.
yep,
That'll get us in.
okay. And then we'll encumber 19.5. Yeah.
An extra $2,000, yeah, okay.
I don't think that was a non-lapsing article.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, would you pull the warrant up? I mean, it's real easy. If it's non-lapsing, it says it's non-lapsing.
Actually, might be useful. Actually, it's on the computer.
That used to be a copy on the table. 14, 13, 15.
I have the articles here, let me just take a picture.
Refresh my memory, chief.
Yeah.
Nothing got changed on the police budget, or did it get changed?
Did not.
It did not get
The
changed.
motion failed.
The motion failed
Right.
by a 3-4 vote.
It does say to see if the town, it doesn't say anything about non-lapsing. It says to see
Right.
if, just vote and
So-
appropriate.
Yeah, so I like your idea. We'll encumber $19,500.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so is that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Great.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 19,500 is encumbered.
All right, good.
I think we're,
And do we need to pay a $2,000 bill?
Yeah, we already,
yep. So we'll get that in this week to go. I think all the signature stuff is done, right?
yeah.
Yep. All right, anything else for the chief?
No, go arrest somebody. Make their Christmas.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thanks, chief. All right, back to Selectmen's update. You were talking about transfer station generator.
Generator light.
And power,
And I've done,
some sort of a telltale system if we get a power outage or a,
and the last Friday, I asked us to consider the following. First of all, I think up there that they've done a yeoman's work of trying to get the fees, really pay attention to the demolition.
right,
I have a couple of thoughts. I'm aware of at least 4 or 5 loads of debris that's had to go up and go in demolition. This has been picked up beside the roads. Clay has to swallow that or make up the difference, type thing. I'd like to see $1,000 added to construction debris, or whatever. The other thing is, I'd like us to consider $2,000 added to per diem, so we can once and for all determine the situation with the swap shop. Now, again, the estimates are there's about $6,000 in stuff that's being put in there. I think $2,000 is I'd like us to at least think about it.
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
$6,000 worth of stuff that should have paid $6,000.
Yes. And I'm following up on a suggestion you made, this type thing. And the more I thought about it, and you know what, all of these projects, as Clay, and you know him, he's there with his pencil and his calculator and keeps his guy's nose to the grindstone. If it saves having to buy a scale, we're ahead of the game. So it's a thought I want you to think about in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I think we've already discussed that we're gonna sit with Clay after the first of the year and look at his budget with respect to where we actually came in this year in costs anyway.
And I don't know how adding money to the transfer station budget for just demolition waste that comes in off the side of the road or wherever it does get paid for, how adding money to that budget changes anything. Because if it just increases the expense that he's paying to waste management, and we're paying it out of that $1,000, let's say, or we're paying it out of taxes, it's the same thing. I mean, I don't know that that fixes anything, so I'm not there with you on that bit.
No problem.
But the swap shop, I think we have to have a longer conversation about.
Yep.
Okay, that's it for me, for right now.
All right. You got anything?
Yeah, I had obviously the budget hearing or meeting, which went pretty well. I don't know why I was so forgetful about the police budget, but I know there was a conversation that went on quite a while about changing one line or changing the whole amount, but that got settled. We're not meeting again until the first of the year, so hopefully we'll have all the little budgets put together by then. I just want to make sure that we're all on board on the camp roads and the plowing of camp roads. That the road agent's obligated to keep those open until the 10th of December.
Right.
So anything that happened prior to the 10th of December is just, somebody didn't feel like it would. We obviously don't want private people plowing them, but we do want the road agent to keep them open until the 10th of December.
You're talking the class 6
That's-
roads, right?
No,
the
the
camp
seasonal.
roads.
The class 5 seasonal roads, of
Yeah.
which we have 2, I believe.
County road.
County, the section of County Road and Lang Pine.
The third one is in Eastwood Shores one?
Is it a seasonal? Eastwood Shores? Okay,
Out of the water.
All right, the 3.
all right,
So anyway, we'll make sure that we tell the road agent that.
yeah.
We've had a number of welfare cases that I've been dealing with. And now that we're on camera, I want to make sure everybody understands that they need help. Help is available here in the form of welfare. But there's a caveat to that. We need certain information in order to be in compliance with the regulations and the RSAs. I don't think anybody in this office is going to be allowed to commit welfare fraud by giving out money with not the appropriate documentation. So we'll work with you and hopefully you'll work with us. I'm going to stay after today and work with Diana a little bit on the revenues, just so it isn't, I think she's feeling a little overloaded, so I'll see if I can put a little more on top of it, really overloaded. That's me.
Maybe she'll have more cookies for you.
Yeah.
I finished these.
Yeah.
I was looking at bills.
It's still sealed.
I see that.
Don't open them up.
I've tucked mine away.
Yeah, there you go.
Like
Okay.
a squirrel.
The only thing that I want to highlight today is the planning board meeting is on Thursday, and we will have at least one and maybe 2 items to go on the ballot this year for changes in the zoning regulations. One that is relative to something that applies to ZBA, and I don't remember exactly what it was, and the other one was something that came up internally. We'll be discussing those on Thursday night. The hearing has to be noticed and advertised by January 10th. And so the last couple of days I'm kind of poking to make sure let's not miss our deadlines if we're going to get this stuff in there. At any rate, that's the only thing that I'm aware of that might be of interest to folks to weigh in on that. So,
In your wisdom, do you have any
my wisdom.
thoughts on when the great master plan gets
Well,
created?
you heard, we have now a revised contract with LRPC through June 30th to finish the final draft work on that. So I don't have any crystal ball that gives me any sense one way or the other beyond that as to what's.
When I get asked, I use your words. That's a project that needs to be done right, not fast.
Well, yeah, and it's, the budget committee there was some questions about the survey that was done, when it was done and the way it was done, and should we do a new survey? There seems to be fairly in opinion, maybe fairly widely held that it wasn't done correctly the first time. Having said that, having looked at the results and the tabulations, it gives us I think some good information. I'm not persuaded that throwing that out and starting over to do a new survey is going to give us something that's substantially different. In my opinion, the error that was made in the survey process is that we did it internally rather than bringing somebody that was from the outside that didn't have a dog in the hunt, and maybe somebody that does survey work as a living and therefore knows the right way to word questions, keep it totally separate from anybody who has a vested interest in what's going on, so that what you get in the end is something that's totally blind. It's just, we put it out there, these are the questions we got, here's the information that came in, and there's no suggestion, at that point can be no suggestion that it was influenced by somebody that had a particular agenda. Having been part of the process where we went through the questionnaires and we tabulated them and put all this stuff together, the opportunity that it was greatly influenced by thumbs on the scale, I think is pretty small. And it's just unfortunate that when we went through the process, it wasn't a little more arm's length than it was.
So, two more things that I forgot.
Yes.
One is, can we have Karen put together our 91A file or
Non-public minutes.
Friday the 28th, just so we get rid of that. And I had forgotten one other thing that happened this week, and I'd like to ask the chair if we could go into a non-public for personnel
Okay.
at the end of this meeting.
Yep. All right.
Did you have something?
Yeah, two things. One, procurement policy, I looked at it and it looks good to me. So, but I did notice also, I didn't have to get it to you right away, but.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing, we did have an incident with the gate at Piper Road again, where the post broke. Mr. Ulrich was insisting it was done in the criminal
Maliciously?
fashion. Maliciously. He has a camera on it. You can see somebody pulling up to it. He assumes that's how it did. However, upon looking at the post that he used and how it was, the hinge was mounted, there's a defect in the wood right there, and it cracked on that defect. So I do not believe it was a criminal
Does he
event.
have notice below those cameras?
Probably not.
So that they're virtually useless for us. I mean, you can't use it in a court of law.
You can use without, if as long as it doesn't do audio, you don't need to notice somebody in public place or in your own private property. You do
I
have,
don't know that that's filming on private property.
no, but even on public, you can do video. You can't do audio in public.
See, I thought it had to be noticed, but I could be wrong.
Video does not have to be in a public place. Somebody could, well, unless they change the laws at some point, and there is the new amendment, which I don't know what that is gonna play out to be, but there was a bill last year that got killed that was gonna make it a misdemeanor to film cars for anybody. Or
Right.
but that didn't pass.
Right.
But the same guy put in this amendment, the privacy amendment, which may make that, you're right, I hadn't thought about that possible application, that new amendment on privacy. But,
Anyway, I think it's something to keep in mind that
yeah. The point is, Mr. Ulrich is not happy that somebody was not charged, but he put the hinge, the lower hinge of the two, where it's gonna have the most leverage against it, was a whirl of knots, one sizable black knot there, and he drilled into it to mount his hinge with lag bolts. So it took it cracked right on one of the knots. It had the most leverage and the most weight, and the person who did it says it just broke. I'll fix it if he wants, but
There's no culpability.
there's no culpability. There was no crime. I looked at it. I mean, it could have cracked.
mens rea.
Yeah, no mens rea at all. It could have cracked on its own just sitting there, because it was
Right.
not a good.
The
But
unfortunate.
it's not our gate. He's maintaining our gate.
Yep.
You know,
Right, but I mean, his point is that if somebody maliciously broke his gate,
and that's between him and that other person.
well, it could be
It's
We're in the
criminal.
middle.
It's becoming
Yeah,
a sponge
we're in the
for
middle,
the
but
town.
in this case, no. But
Okay.
in case he comes in complaining, because he was not a happy camper when somebody was not charged immediately, especially that day when he showed over the videos. I want him charged. We have to look at it and investigate it. And
Exactly.
two of us looked at it and
Okay.
no.
All right.
There'll be more chapters, I'm sure.
Yes,
Chief.
Yeah.
yes, I think there will. Okay, are we,
I think we're done.
yeah, all right. So correspondence, let's see. Yeah. Procurement policy, that's ongoing. 19 Mile Brook Review had correspondence that the initial work they expect to be done in mid-January. So we'll see where we go from there.
And that's fine with you folks, okay. They just wanted to check.
Well,
I think it would be fine, but.
the initial piece is going through all of the history and understanding what's there and making your recommendations based on that. If we tell them they need to do it before the end of December and they can't get it done before the end of December, then.
Shot ourselves in the
Right.
foot.
I mean,
We
my
want
opinion
those,
is we
yeah.
want to get it done and have the recommendation be based upon completing the information properly. All right, Tuftonboro Times, early January, I guess I'll get to work on that. Annual reports, note here from our secretary saying that she needs annual report input from all departments by January 18th.
And you sent that out to all the departments?
Yes, and then I want to know who might write your
Yeah.
submission.
That'll be similar to
I'll
the,
be working on that, and we'll review it obviously before we get to that point.
Okay.
Yeah. an email from a resident suggesting that we put a $19,000 item on the warrant for purchase of a new speed radar trailer for the police department for 2019. Referring to high rates of speed on Ledge Hill Road, yada, yada, yada. So I know we've got the post-mounted unit. I don't know if that's ever got, it actually got installed or not. So, a reminder note to encumber funds for the master plan. Karen, the amount left on that contract, is that what the $2,006, is that?
I looked at the expenditure report that Diane,
We need to encumber what it takes to finish the contract.
Okay, no, I thought you just wanted what was left in that line particularly.
Well.
Okay. So you're gonna take it out of the rest of the planning board budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I can-
Whatever it is.
so,
Yeah, I can gather that
so whatever it is.
information.
So, we'll do this on the 28th, along with the other ones. Okay, so, note from Karen here regarding the gate on Piper Road. There was, in an earlier meeting, some conversation about 12 feet not being wide enough. The language of the RSA talks about gates not interfering with a traveled way. And I asked Karen to check with Chief Thompson and with the road agent on,
What's the trouble? Why?
you know, how much space do you need to operate through there with your equipment? And Chief Thompson said 12 feet's pretty damn tight for a piece of apparatus, that 14 feet would be better. And the road agent said basically the same thing, that
Well, I mean, the town regulations are for private roads to be 20 feet. 22 feet, I think, with the curve, with the drainage.
Mhm.
So,
But that's,
I mean, that's essentially what that is,
mhm.
and the way they're treating it. So, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, the road agent can't get a plow through there with 12 feet.
That's right.
So, I don't
That's
know what
right.
the fire department can get through either.
Well, and right.
Said they can just make it,
It
but
says the apparatus is 101 inches wide, but that doesn't include the stuff hanging off the sides. And that's why he's thinking
Yeah.
14 feet. Yeah,
We asked him and he told us.
yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
So,
Okay.
I think we need to provide Mr. Ulrich with
Notification.
with
okay.
a more detailed
Yeah.
explanation of
Can I follow it in?
what's what here.
Sorry.
It's always going to be an issue, but when we make it too tight, then it doesn't help at all. All right. We have a regional purchasing survey from LRPC. I guess I can go in and work on that, yeah.
May I go back to the Piper Road, excuse me, because I
You
had to
may.
go out there. Did you want me to write a letter asking them to widen it? I didn't. hear what you said.
Well, I think that's a work in process. I mean, a piece of this is the appropriate width. We've gotten an opinion from both the fire chief and the road agent that the width of the area between the posts now is not wide enough.
Yeah.
And he's got to replace a post anyway.
Right, and so I think we need to, the letter should incorporate several things.
Okay.
And I haven't seen the gate that he put up, if it's one that's like the one we pictured, or if it's something different.
I understand just the posts are there, no gate yet.
I haven't seen the gate,
Okay,
just the post.
So yes, that's something we need
Maybe
to work
Steve
on.
Hunter's doing the gate, like the gates over here at the cemetery. Or over.
Yeah, all right. We've got the beach, and you haven't heard anything on the beach this morning. Right, so that'll be the 28th.
Yep, okay.
I think that's all we have for correspondence.
Okay.
All right, any other business? All right.
I'll move we adjourn.
Well, we gotta go into non-public.
I go into non-public.
Yeah. So we're not gonna adjourn, we're gonna go into
All
non-public.
right, I'll
All
make a
right.
motion to go into non-public for 91A. Personnel, it's the same,
See.
For, what, reputation or
no,
employee?
yeah, employee.
Okay. So is that B?
For the person that's here is C. Is that?
Okay, then it's C.
Okay.
Reputation.
I'll second that. Wood, yes.
Yes.
I'll be yes.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.